It is the News Blitz with Randy Wang on Talk Radio 790 KABC. We're here every single day from 5 to 6 talking about the local issues that matter to you most and taking your phone calls at 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. Your emails as well at randykabc@gmail.com, and search for the KABC News Blitz wherever you get your podcasts. One thing that fundamentally changed ever since the pandemic and the lockdowns was the whole concept of working remotely. It used to be something that was done very sporadically on occasion in special circumstances, and then became the norm for a lot of different industries, including my own. Well, everyone except for me and Wayman and a few other people that never got to work from home. I'm in a very unique position now because I work in person every single day, and I also work remotely every single day. I go into the radio station to do the John Phillips Show, and then I drive home to do this show, which I do from my gym room. I literally just got off the treadmill. And there has been a lot of pushback in this idea of returning to work for what I consider all the wrong reasons. If it's for productivity and you want to make that argument, I would love to see the statistics, because I think a lot more time gets wasted in the office, but that's my personal opinion. But if the whole idea is everyone has to go back to work because the downtowns are empty, I don't like that argument. Reinvent what downtown is if people don't want to work down there. Change what it is. And when it's a downtown like downtown LA, make it safe. Otherwise, people are not coming back. But there are a lot of interesting things that happen with just the concept of working remotely, because it can be that you're working from home and you no longer have to commute, something that I dream about every single day. You know, I'm a very aspirational person. I'm always thinking about what's the next thing. I'm never satisfied. I'm very ambitious, and I've made it very far in this career. And I think I'm at the point where the only thing I'm striving for now is driving less. Don't like it, especially because I live in the Valley and have to commute to West LA. You've heard me over and over again talk about how awful that commute is, and you'll continue to hear me talk about how awful that commute is because it is soul-sucking. But there are other interesting things that can happen with remote work, and one of the things that we saw in the pandemic was people that lived somewhere very expensive, like San Francisco, that were working for a company like Facebook or Twitter said, wait, why am I paying these exorbitant rents when I can work from anywhere? So you had a lot of people saying, well, I'm going to move somewhere cheaper. I'm going to move to Austin. I'm going to move to Boise. I'm going to move to Montana. And now you're paying a much lower cost of living, and you're making that same salary. Now, I understand why local governments don't like that idea, because then they're losing a whole bunch of tax revenue. I mean, if you're employed in the state of California, but you're technically working in another state, there's a whole lot of questions to be asked there. But I do love the idea of it. I mean, I am very blessed. Whenever I ask for permission, I am able to do this job, both shows, remotely whenever I'm spending time in the state of New Mexico, in the city of Santa Fe, or in Dallas, Texas. Whether it's for family or I'm just there because it's nicer than LA, I love the fact that I can bring my laptop, bring a microphone, and do my job from anywhere. But I really haven't pushed the boundaries on anywhere, at least not as much as one city employee in the state of California. Because in San Diego, America's finest city, there is a city attorney who may have jumped the proverbial shark, whether it's for good or for bad, on the concept of working remotely. And I'm going to tell you what her situation is, and then you're going to call me and tell me if you're cool with this or not. At 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. Because this city attorney, who is paid a very nice salary by the city of San Diego for the last 4 months, has been working remotely on a cruise ship. She has been on a months-long cruise. I'm guessing you've got really good Wi-Fi, or they've got Starlink now. But she says that she's showing up for all her meetings on Teams or on Zoom. She's answering the phone whenever they call her, but she is doing her job from a cruise. The cruise industry, by the way, should lean all the way into this, because I know a certain radio host from noon to 3 that if he could get paid to be cruising, well, that's pretty much life right there. Although doing this job, you really shouldn't drink on the air, so there's a little bit of an issue there. But let's find out what's going on with the city attorney who works for the city of San Diego that has been being paid while working on a cruise ship. And she's not doing the theater productions. Here is NBC7 in San Diego.
Bringing you details tonight on the controversy surrounding the San Diego City Attorney's Office. One of its top lawyers is being allowed to work while vacationing on a cruise ship.
I just love the idea of it. Although, I will say, being able to work remotely in your favorite vacation places does have its issues, like aforementioned drinking. So when I work remotely in Santa Fe, which I'll be doing later next month for about a week, the days where I'm working noon to 3 and 5 to 6, although in Mountain Time it's 1 to 4 and 6 to 7, well, there's no happy hour at the shed. There's no lunch. There's no, I can eat, but I can't be having margaritas. I can't be going to Joe's Tequila Bar. I've kind of got to keep it cool and keep it clean. Now, there are plenty of other things I get to do with my time. For instance, and this is just, it's something that I daydream about. As you know, doing 4 hours of radio a day, I do a lot of show prep. And the entire bulk of my show prep is all based on YouTube. I love YouTube. In fact, I've been using YouTube for show prep going back to 2008, but I didn't start using it this intensely until about 5 years ago. And I spend 2 hours every single day in the car. And what I do is I load up my YouTube playlist, and while I am sitting in hell 405 traffic, I am being distracted by listening to all the news stories like the one I'm playing right now, deciding which ones are good for the air, which ones don't make the cut, which ones would be better for the 5 o'clock show. That's how I spend my time. But see, when I'm in a place like Santa Fe, where I'm not driving because my office is the home that I stay in, I go on a hike and I put on my Meta glasses and then I listen to all of those same stories while walking. It's a beautiful thing. But like I said, can't be enjoying happy hour on a work day.
Now the city attorney's office has released a letter explaining that decision. NBC7's Amari Fleming gives us a look at what it says.
Well, the city attorney sent out a memo to staff members about this remote work controversy. It said since 2020, attorneys and staff members have been allowed to work remotely and will continue to be allowed to work remotely.
Even if they're on international waters.
When we talked to taxpayers about this, well, some had some really colorful words that we can't repeat, while others said,
What did they say? I gots to know.
While others said, it's okay because of the changing of times. While Executive City Attorney Gene Jordan is allowed to work remotely while on a 4-month vacation cruise.
I didn't know they did I know they did longer cruises, but 4 months away at sea. That's interesting. That is saying goodbye to a whole, like if you have pets, I don't know how you deal with that. If you've got kids, I don't know how you deal with that. You're not taking your kids on a cruise for 4 months. I think she's near retirement, and that's what happened here, but it is interesting, the idea just to say goodbye to your life for like half a year. There's actually, for people that were not okay with the results of the 2024 election, they didn't like the outcome. There was a cruise ship company that was offering a 4-year cruise from 2024 to 2028. Interesting idea.
Some San Diego taxpayers left speechless by the arrangement.
I'm not going to lie. I don't even know where to really begin, you know?
No, I don't think it's fair.
Cool.
Not at all.
And even when you
could tell why she was so upset of it. That crying baby was hers.
Not at all.
And even when you work remotely.
Yes.
City Attorney Heather Ferber, spokesperson, sent us a letter giving us staff that details why the work at sea agreement was approved. It says Jordan planned to retire late last year and scheduled a trip in January of this year when she would have retired.
And she can't get a refund on that cruise. If she booked it with points, the points are gone. So she put them in a position where if they wanted to keep her, they had to let her work on the cruise ship. Kind of a fascinating idea. Otherwise, she was going to leave and retire and get that pension. And there was no scenario where she was not getting on the cruise ship. But out of the kindness of her heart, or the idea of making even more money at like $200,000 a year, now she's getting paid to cruise. She's getting paid to sit on the Lido deck. She could be taking meetings from the casino, which, again, I've never been on a cruise ship, but according to my radio partner, John Phillips, that's the thing he does the most. Loves that blackjack table.
The city attorney says Jordan offered to stay on with the office when the newly elected city attorney realized Jordan was, quote, greatly needed for the continuity during the transition. Soon after.
Boy, that's got to feel good. You're so important that even though you're going to retire, we need you to stay, and we're going to have you on consult where we can call you day or night while you're on the cruise ship.
Soon after, Jordan agreed to the newly created executive assistant attorney position that was part of an office restructuring. It pays a little more than $280,000 a year.
Holy cow. Government work pays really well, doesn't it? She's making $280,000 while she's enjoying a cruise ship. That's quite a life.
I think that she's doing her thing, me personally. So I encourage her to continue to do what she's doing.
Yeah, see, I have the same opinion with this specific person. You get yours, baby. They approve that, go for it. Enjoy yourself. Have fun.
And if the boss is okay for it, but if she's ruining our tax dollars, then no.
Okay.
So it's all dependent.
Details of the remote work arrangement were first reported over the weekend in the Union Tribune, saying they had received complaints about her remote work during the round-the-world trip that started in January. In the memo to staff, City Attorney Ferbert says Jordan takes calls at all hours of the day. I've seen and reviewed work product and...
Like, at some point, if you're in a time zone that's 12 hours later, that's got to be real confusing how you take meetings. I've thought about it. I had friends for their 50th birthdays. They spent a month in Italy, which is so cool. I think that's amazing. And one of my friends, she's a life coach, and she still had some meetings she had to take, but now you're on a 12-hour time zone difference. How do you figure that out? But she's available. She made herself available so she can collect the $280,000 to cruise it up for 4 months. I want to see that itinerary. I bet it's incredible.
I've seen and reviewed work product and discussed cases and legal matters with her, and I have every confidence that she is completing her work well above the expectations.
Now, I understand that there are a lot of jobs that can never be done remote, and there was something really unfair about the fact that the white-collar class got to do their jobs from home when the blue-collar class, the people working at the grocery stores, they not only had to go in every day, but they had to get exposed to all the white-collar people with COVID. There's definitely something deeply unfair about that, but if there are certain jobs that can be done well remotely, I encourage it, if not for the only reason to get some cars off the road in a really efficient way, unlike a bullet train that'll never get built.
Said for all the attorneys in this office.
It's kind of like it's about time, you know, work and play and work-life balance. And so, I mean, as long as the work's getting done, I don't really see a problem with it.
The city attorney's office did not respond to the...
I remote worked earlier this year a week in Dallas while I was babysitting my 2-year-old niece because her parents were about to have another baby. And I'm not used to dealing with kids that much. I was so exhausted from the babysitting, I couldn't wait to get on the radio. But I did love that time. It was really special. And I love the idea that even though they live in Texas, I can spend more time with them because I can make time to go there. And if I work from there, I can still see everybody. It's a beautiful thing.
The city attorney's office did not respond to the UT's questions about why Jordan was appointed to the new position before her trip. They are saying, though, that as the workplace changes, remote working will remain a beneficial practice to support employees. Omari Fleming, NBC7.
That's why while there is this push to return to work for a lot of private employers, I know the state of California wants to return to work. I know the federal government wants to return to work. There's a lot of people out there. They've been so spoiled by this. It's going to be real hard to get them to go back to that water cooler for many reasons, whether it's the lack of a commute, whether it's, I don't know, I'll take my own family, for instance. My wife's been working remotely in the television production world for the last 5 years. And guess what? She does her job incredibly well. And because she gets to do it from home all day, she gets to sit with our dogs all day. That's awesome. So when you're making everyone return to work, is there going to be a dog policy? Are there going to be too many dogs? It's going to be a whole thing, but people like hanging out with their dogs at work. It's a good time. But I understand this is still new and this might be controversial. That's why I want to hear your honest opinion on this story in San Diego. To recap, an employee of the San Diego City Attorney's Office. Her job title is now the executive assistant to the city attorney. She was going to retire because she had a 4-month cruise planned. They said, we need you to stay. She said, I gots to cruise. They said, okay, how about we pay you to work remotely on the cruise ship? So this city attorney is getting paid $280,000 a year to advise the city attorney in San Diego while on a 4-month cruise. What I want to hear from you at 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222 is this. Do you have a problem with this? Do you have a problem with a city attorney getting paid to work from a cruise ship for 4 months? 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. Do you have a problem with this? Do you think this is great? Are you a little jealous? I know I am. 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. How do you weigh in on the case of the city attorney in San Diego working remotely from a cruise ship? 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. Get on the phone right now. I want to hear how you feel about this. 800-222-KABC. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on Talk Radio 790 KABC. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC. We're taking your phone calls at 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. In the city of San Diego, an employee of the city attorney's office is getting paid $280,000 a year to work remote. But it's not any working from home case you've ever heard of, because she is getting paid to work on a 4-month cruise. She was going to retire. They said, we need to keep you on. She said, I got these cruise ship tickets. And so they agreed to keep her on working full-time remotely while she tours around the world. What I want to know at 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222 is, do you have a problem with this? If she's getting all her work done, do you have a problem with a city employee getting paid to do their work from a cruise ship? 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. Let's start with Dale in Long Beach. Dale, hello.
Hey, Randy, I'm jealous. Yeah, she's picking up an extra $100,000 for 4 months of cruising. Why not? And it boosts up her retirement. I mean, why even quit?
Oh, at that point, just keep staying on, because that pension gets bigger and bigger every year that she stays on. And if she was going to quit her job to tour the world, now she could do both at the same time.
I don't really blame her, but why didn't they train somebody else before she retired? Thanks, Randy.
Well, that's the kind of foresight that local government doesn't usually have, but I love the idea. 800-222-KABC is the phone number, 1-800-222-5222. Let's go to Dan in Irvine. Dan, hello.
Hey there. Boy, this is an idiotic proposition. Do you really think this person is getting her job done on the, that she's available during the times that she needs to be available? She's in a different time zone, probably.
Well, and what if she's in the pool? Like, if she's on one of those water slides, does she have her phone on her the whole time?
Yeah, this is just an idiotic proposition, something that would never happen in a private company. But, city governments, they get away with just wasting your money. So, yeah, it's great for her, but city of San Diego is probably not getting their money's worth out of this.
I think that's a fair way to look at it. It's not a great use of taxpayer money, but she's getting hers, and good for her.
Yep. Yeah. Who can blame her? I blame the city.
There you go. Thanks so much for the call, Dan. Appreciate it. 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. A city attorney in San Diego is getting paid $280,000 a year while she works remotely on a 4-month cruise around the world. Do you have a problem with a city employee getting paid to work remotely from a cruise ship? 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. Get on the line right now. We're taking more calls next. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on Talk Radio 790 KABC. It is the News Blitz with Randy Wang on Talk Radio 790 KABC. We're here every single day from 5 to 6 talking about the local issues that matter to you most and taking your phone calls at 800-222-KABC. 1-800-222-5222. Your emails as well at randykabc@gmail.com, and search for the KABC News Blitz wherever you get your podcasts. We're taking your phone calls right now at 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. There is an employee of the city attorney's office in San Diego that was about to retire. She had a 4-month cruise plan. The city said, "We need you to stay." She said, "I got to get on this cruise ship." So they said, "How about you work remotely on the cruise ship?" So she is currently getting paid $280,000 a year to cruise around the world. My question to you at 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222 is this. Do you have a problem with this? Do you have a problem with a city employee getting paid to work remotely on a 4-month cruise? Do you have a problem with the city allowing it? Do you think, hey, she's getting hers? Are you jealous? I'm jealous. 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. Let's go to AC in LA. AC, hello.
Hello, sir. So here's my take on it. Generally, I understand people wouldn't like this. It smells a little bit like maybe favoritism or maybe taking a little bit of advantage. But we don't know how much time she has under her belt, how many things she's actually working on that a person can't catch up on. And in my personal experience, though, I'd usually say no. Not that long ago, we had a interstate finance deal going. Our guy was leaving to Spain. He said, "No problem, I got it." And he got it done despite the time difference. So I think there are exceptions where it can be warranted.
Well, and I think it totally can be done. If someone that you trust and someone that's committed and someone that you know isn't going to be on a water slide when they're supposed to be in a meeting, I think it can totally be done. And the whole idea of a workcation for people that have lives where they can't even conceive the idea of taking time off, it's kind of an interesting concept, because how many jobs are people so afraid of ever taking time off because they don't want things to slip that they never go anywhere?
Yeah, no, totally agree with that. I think that if the person, maybe the city knows that this person is good for their word, maybe she's a grinder, maybe she shows up when she needs to. And like my guy did in his example, he was, in Spain, but he was picking up the phone at, 3 o'clock in the morning his time, answering the bell. I think if you got a person like that, they kind of earned it, but certainly we can't make it a day-to-day giveaway. I don't see that.
No, it can't be for everybody. It's got to be for special circumstances. That being said, I would work a total insane overnight shift if I could live in Spain for a month and do this show from there. That would be so cool. I would love it.
And you would do great at it, sir. I know you'd show up every day when the bell rings. So there we go.
Thanks so much for the call, AC. Appreciate it. Okay, what would my time slot be? Spain time zone right now. Okay, so it is currently 2:40 a.m. in Spain. So I would be doing late overnights. Like the overnight shift in radio is 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. I'd be doing 2 a.m. plus. Johnny's show would come on at, 11 p.m.? Something like that, 10 p.m.? Okay, I'd do it. I would totally do it. I'd have to go to bed at 3 a.m. every day, but it's Spain. I think that'll work in Spain. Because, like, you know, you get done with dinner about 10, 11 o'clock, then you go do a couple hours on the radio. You go to bed at 3, you wake up at noon. All right, I'm figuring this out. I want to work from Spain. If this woman can work from a cruise ship, I want to work from Spain. It'll be great. I'm just going to need really, really reliable internet. 800-222-KABC is the phone number. 1-800-222-5222. Do you have a problem with a city attorney in San Diego getting paid her full salary while she works from a 4-month cruise around the world? 800-222-KABC. 1-800-222-5222. I personally don't have a problem with this if she's getting her work done. I totally can see why you would have a problem with it, but give me a call. Let me know what you think. Do you have a problem with a city attorney in San Diego getting paid to work remotely while on a 4-month cruise? 800-222-KABC. 1-800-222-5222. Let's go to Greg in Long Beach. Greg, hello.
Hello. Yeah, I don't have a problem with it at all. Extraordinary circumstances. I believe there's probably a larger backstory that we don't know about. Conditions of employment. If they're stupid enough to pay her and they want her, pay her.
Well, and she must be good because she was retiring and they're like, no. We need you to stay so badly that you don't even have to be here. So she must have knowledge of certain contracts or certain cases going on in the city. Or maybe they're just like, hey, we can get you some money for that cruise. You're going to be able to upgrade your room, baby.
Yeah, maybe not quite that nefarious. Or they had a replacement planned and the replacement bailed out and they were stuck. So they said, okay, give us a deal. We want you. What do you want? And she named her price. They gave it to her.
I do love that. I mean, you know, that's the thing. She's an attorney. If she negotiated that for herself, she's a pretty damn good attorney.
Very good.
Thanks so much for the call, Greg. Appreciate it. I'm all about it. And the idea of workcations, I'm about that too, because there are a lot of jobs where people, even if you get 4 weeks off a year, are you taking all 4 weeks off a year? Or, I mean, luckily you're in California where those days roll over in most cases. In some states, they don't. They just go away. But there are some jobs where you just get so busy, you really can't take time off. You can't let things slip. So the idea of being able to work from a vacation spot isn't totally crazy. Now, would you have a much better vacation if you weren't working at all? Yes. But if the choice is, I have to work, but I can go on this cruise, or I can't go on the cruise, well, I think the idea of the workcation is pretty good. I think this employee has got it worked out. 800-222-KABC. 1-800-222-5222. Do you have a problem with a city attorney in San Diego getting paid her full salary of $280,000 a year to work remotely on a 4-month cruise ship? I think it's great, but what do you think? 800-222-KABC. 1-800-222-5222. If you're on hold, stay on hold to get to more of your calls next. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on Talk Radio 790 KABC. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on Talk Radio 790 KABC. We're taking your phone calls at 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. A city attorney in San Diego is getting paid her full salary of $280,000 a year to work remotely on a 4-month cruise around the world. I really want to see that itinerary. That is so cool. But I want to know if you have a problem with this, because I personally don't. If she's getting her work done, good for her. She was going to retire anyway. But do you have a problem with a city employee getting paid to work remotely on a cruise? 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. Let's go to Emmanuel in Chatsworth. Emmanuel, hello.
How you doing? Yeah, I think she should take a 75% pay cut. Reason being that salaries are not just tied to what you do, but they're tied to geography. So, for example, if you live in expensive San Diego, your salary is probably going to be 3 times higher than if you're working in Podunk, Iowa, for example. So if you take the geography factor out of it, she is no longer in expensive San Diego. She could be on a cruise ship. She could be in Kansas. She could be in Florida. It doesn't matter. she's not. No, she's no longer tied to that expensive location when the contracts were originally negotiated. Then all bets are off. So she should take, in my opinion, a 75-80% pay cut that would be commensurate with probably the lowest common denominator, let's say Kansas or Iowa. That's my take on it, because the geography factor has been taken out of the equation for a salary.
That is fascinating. And it's actually something that was going on with Facebook during the pandemic, where they had employees that had moved to places like Iowa to Idaho to Montana. And they said, okay, well, now you're living somewhere where your cost of living is so much lower. So if you want to stay there, we're cutting your pay by 40 to 50%. And they thought doing that, they would get people to move back to San Francisco. And they didn't. They said, no, we're staying here. We like it. But I think that's brilliant. And by the way, it's not like she'd be working for chump change. 25% of her salary is still $70,000.
Right. And that's probably what she deserves. So I don't have a problem with her on the cruise, but those are taxpayer dollars that we're talking about. And those are people who live in expensive San Diego. So if they're subject to the expenses of San Diego and she is not, then she should definitely, logically, she should take a pay cut.
I think you make a really strong argument, Emmanuel. Thank you so much for the call. Appreciate it. I want to live in San Diego. It's beautiful down there. Ocean Beach, Dog Beach, although I don't particularly like the Dog Beach itself. I like dogs and I like the beach. San Diego's great. Also, all this idea, pretty much now all I dream about is being able to work from anywhere but here. LA is getting real old real fast. 800-222-KABC is the phone number. 1-800-222-5222. More of your cruise calls coming up next. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC. Let's get back to the phones on the city attorney in San Diego who's getting paid her full salary while she works remotely on a 4-month cruise around the world. Do you have a problem with this? I don't. Let's go to Dwayne in my hometown of Santa Clarita. Dwayne, hello.
Hey, Randy. The way I see it, she's doing them a favor. She was going to retire anyway. She's a government employee retiring. She was going to get the equivalent of that same salary anyway and not work. They need her. So she stayed on to help them. They extended the window of her time before retirement, and then she'll retire after the cruise. So she would have got the same money, been on the same cruise, and not done any work. She's helping them out. That's how I see it.
I think you make a really strong point. And you know what? She is enjoying herself, and who knows how many cruises she's going to be able to afford to do after this with that kind of pension. I love it. Thanks for the call, Dwayne. Appreciate it. You know, I've been looking up all break. People who retire on cruise ships because it's cheaper than actual retirement. And I've never been on a cruise. Maybe one day I will go. Johnny sure makes them sound fun. But that's a fascinating concept. Just travel around the world, and it can be cheaper than living in a place like Los Angeles. Let's go to Bill in La Cañada. Bill, hello.
Oh, hi, Randy. Yeah, I have no problem with this. I mean, look, Mayor Karen Bass, as you know, claimed to be working for the people of Los Angeles while partying in Ghana during horrific fires. And then she claims she was working on the plane by calling people from her phone. So, in fact, I think that means that Karen Bass could even work remotely from federal prison for taking that $100,000 from the USC School of Social Work dean, you know, the one who got convicted for bribing Mark Ridley Thomas in a similar scheme that got him 5 years in prison. And he needs a roommate. So why not?
Oh, my goodness. I love that. It's actually the most perfect example, because if it was okay for Karen Bass to work remotely during the worst disaster in Los Angeles' history from Ghana, then anybody who works for any city in California should be able to work remotely from wherever they want. Work remotely from Coachella? Go. Burning Man? Go. Work remotely from hedonism.
I gave you my best, always.
Thanks so much for the call, Bill. Appreciate it. Let's go to Ed in Orange County. Ed, hello.
Hi, Randy. How are you?
Doing great.
Okay. Well, let me tell you my perspective on this. Number one, I'm not a big fan of remote working. And the reason why is most of the jobs are not performance-based. If it's performance-based like what you do, you have to be on the air at a certain time, and you have certain schedules to keep and other things like that. But most jobs are not measurable that way. Sales is predominantly. Other jobs are not performance-based. Now, I'm going to tell you that based on the background you gave me, that she was going to retire and she was taking over, and they've hired another city attorney. That's my understanding. They needed her to transition this city attorney through. I don't know what city attorney does. I don't know how much legal work they do. I don't know how much prosecution they do. I don't know when they head a department, whether there are other litigators that's involved and all of that stuff. Okay, but the one thing is, based on what you said, if they need her to transition, that's very important, especially if it's a 4-month to a year transition. That also tells me that the city government did not plan this properly. They probably knew that she was going to retire. Secondly, they didn't hire the right person to take over who could take over immediately. So,
this is definitely their bungle.
It is. But, I got to tell you, too, that I've worked in corporate almost all my life, and corporate government doesn't do any good either in terms of planning. And I got to tell you, I just got done with a job with a client, and the client's CEO wanted their people, his people, to come back to work, and HR fought him. Guess what happened?
What happened?
He replaced HR.
There you go. Ed, thank you so much for the call, buddy. Appreciate it. Let's get an email here. Bob writes in and says, I was going to say, this sounds like a dream job for John Phillips. As a former SoCal resident, I love both of your shows. Well, thank you so much. Well, I feel like we're going to have more of these stories in the future because the idea of workcations isn't going anywhere, and I find it just fascinating. Thank you all so much for the calls, everyone. If you ever miss an episode of the show, kabc.com/newsblitz is where you go. Oh, no, that rhymed. It's the News Blitz on KABC.